am number 11 out of 12 kids. My father was born in the Houston area. My mom was born here. I was born here in Laredo. Again, I was number 11, so there was a lot of fighting going on in my house. There's 8 brothers and 4 sisters. As I went through school, my father lived in Houston. We lived here. We went back and forth. It was a kind of a rough situation in terms of having year-round schooling, right? So my first year from start to finish was my 8th grade year when I went to Lamar Middle School. And then I ended up going to Nixon my freshman, my sophomore year, and then my senior year we ended up moving back to Houston. So I didn't even get to finish in Laredo. I had to go to another high school. As soon as I graduated high school, I was one of those students that pretty much said that I was just going to start working after high school. I never thought about college. I didn't think I was made out for college, to be honest with you. And so even though I was pretty mediocre in high school in terms of grades and so forth, I decided to go to college. I had a really nice counselor who I got along with very well, and she asked me if I was interested in going to college, and I said I never thought about it, but she said, if you go, I'll get you a minority scholarship. Certainly wasn't for my grades. It had to be for something else. So I ended up going to junior college. I went to Warden County Junior College in Warden, Texas. I ended up liking it and finished my degree in about a year and a half, my associate's degree. And so I moved on to Houston, University of Houston, and another year and a half, I had already completed my bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Distribution. So the thing there to tell all of you is even though I was mediocre in high school in terms of grades and having some focus issues, I ended up finishing. Not only did I finish, I actually completed it in 3 years, which took a lot of burden because I was also working at the same time. The point there is that a guy like me can actually go out there and get a college degree. Anybody can get a college degree, believe me, because although I had all those obstacles ahead of me, and actually with somewhat of a learning disability, I was still able to accomplish that. So it's very important for all of y'all to focus on that as well. But enough about me a little bit here. Let me get Mike to say a few words about him and his what he does for the county, his background, and then we'll start getting into some questions and answers here.
Thank you, Councilman. Guys, excuse my voice. I'm trying to get over this sickness I have. So just excuse me. And it is it's contagious. So so whoever's here, y'all can pick it up too. Guys, my name is Mike Portamayo. Right now, I'm the County Commissioner of Precinct 1, South Laredo. That's all the way south to where Rio Bravo and Cenizo is, and as far north is a portion of the Heights. So pretty much what I wanted to come and talk to you guys about was what Councilman Garza was talking about his life and how he started off. My life is very simple, and I'm a simple guy, I've always been, and there's nothing special about me, but the only thing that I feel that why I'm special is because I worked hard. I had some little difficult times, but I never gave up. So I'll start off with this. When I was a year old, no, I'm just kidding, I won't start there. I went to, my mom is a librarian actually at United South Middle School. I don't know if you know her, Miss Montemayor. That's my mom, she's a librarian out there. My mom was an educator for years, she's still an educator. And I followed my mom every school that she was teaching in. I went to Nye, I went to Newman, I went to Clark Elementary, Clark Middle, so everywhere. And I started off in Clark Middle, Clark Elementary, went to Clark Middle, went to United 7th, United 8th, went to United North and graduated from there. After United, the same thing as the councilman said. After United, after graduating, I said, you know what? I'm going to bum around, I wanted to work. But then when I found out college was easy, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't even have to show up. So I said, I'll try it out. But later on, I figured out college really wasn't for me. I was still too young. I was a little immature. I didn't want to grow up. So I said, you know what? I'm going to join the Navy. That's easier. But it was a lot harder. That was the best move that I had ever made in my life. I joined the military and I stayed there for about 4.5 years, almost 5. And that was the best move that I ever made. It showed me discipline. It showed me to become a man. It showed me to become a father and a good husband and a good provider. And it showed me a lot of things in my life. So I stayed in the Navy. I was stationed in in Norfolk, Virginia, which is the largest naval base in the world. So I was stationed over there in Norfolk, Virginia. I lived out in Williamsburg for a little while, Williamsburg, Virginia, and I also stayed out in Hampton. After the Navy, I came back. I started working for a company called Centerpoint Energy, which a lot of us know as EdTechs, which was EdTechs back then. I started working there as a service technician. So all your natural gas, your stoves, your water heaters and stuff like that, I'd go out there and fix them, make sure it's a good job. But I wanted something more. And I wanted more. I wanted more money. I wanted to go out there and get more money. So I became a realtor. So right now I am a realtor. I work with the #1 company in the world, which is Coldwell Banker. Coldwell Banker here in Laredo is Ana Ochoa, is Coldwell Banker, Ana Ochoa and Company. So that's the #1 company right now in the world. We sell the most homes. We sell the most, and we have the best representation that you can find. So I am a realtor too. That's my real job. So as the councilman said, so that's what I do. That's my real job. Also on the side, what I do is, since I was in the Navy, when I was in the Navy, I was so familiar with the catapult system. If you guys don't know what the catapults are the ones that you see in the Navy, like you see in the movies where you see the jets fly off the ship. Those things that shoot off the planes, those are called catapults. Okay? When you see the planes land on the ship, I don't know if you ever seen that. Looks like a rubber band. It stops them. That's called the arresting gear. I specialize in that. I got a lot of training in that. So right now, the government every now and then calls me to NAS, Corpus Christi, or Virginia, or California. They fly me out there for my experience and my knowledge. So I go out there and I kind of teach some of the people that don't know what's going on with the catapult system. I go ahead and I teach them what it is. They also train me on the new systems that come out. So I do that. Right now, my full-time job, and I promise, in reality, as a commissioner, commissioners are part-time jobs. But I made a promise while I was running that I would make it a full-time job. And I have made it a full-time job. I've gone in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I will leave till about 8, 9 o'clock at night. And just to get everything going with my precinct, because I have dreams, okay? And I want my precinct to come back up. I want it to come back up. You guys are the ones that are going to help me bring it back up. That's why I'm here talking to you guys. Now, I'll tell you this quick story. When I was running for commissioner, nobody thought that I would make it. Nobody. It's a true story. You can ask a councilman, you can ask a lot of people that are here. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody thought I had a chance. I was going up against a multi-millionaire and a commissioner that had been there for 8 years. I had no experience in government politics, no experience at all. The only experience I had was business. But you know what? I fought for it. And I kept going at it and going at it and going at it. And when people tell me that I could not do it, that gave me more ammunition to want to go out and get it. So you know what? I worked harder. When somebody told me it couldn't be done, I went out there and I made it happen. That's what I ask of you guys. Somebody tells you you can't do it. I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but I'm living proof. And anybody here can tell you, I am living proof. I did make it. I worked hard for it. I worked hard for this position, and I'm going to keep working hard. But that's what I wanted to tell you guys. No matter what your dreams are, you have to follow them. You have to follow it. And if they tell you that you cannot do it, prove them wrong and keep doing it until you get it. Okay? That's the only thing I ask of you. So right now, yes, I am a commissioner. There are, in total, there's 3 commissioners and a county judge. Okay, our county judge right now is Judge Danny Valdez. So in total, there's 4 of us. Okay, so I represent the south side. There's somebody that represents the west, somebody that represents the north, and somebody that represents the east. Okay, so we're a lot smaller than city council, but city council's got a lot more to do than we do, right? But we work together now. In the city council in Webb County, we're starting to work together. We're starting to get things together. And this is for you guys. This is for you guys as you're growing older. This is for your families, for your kids, for your grandchildren. So we're starting to get everything ready for you guys, for when you guys get older. Okay? So I just kind of wanted to give you a little something about me. And I'm the youngest of 4 in total. I have 2 older brothers, an older sister, and then it's me. I have how many kids? I have 5 kids, 2 daughters, 14. I have a daughter and a son that's 10, and another son that's 2.5. So I have a little baby, and it's kind of hard for me to be as old as I am with a little baby, right? But I have a little baby, so that's what I do. I enjoy my family. I'm a family man, and I'm also a ranchman. I love the ranch. So I like hunting, so whoever likes hunting, if you guys want to go, come and hunt, you're more than welcome. But what else can I say? I'm a simple guy, just like everybody else. I love to joke around. I love to play around. I love to make people laugh. Whenever somebody's down, I try to make them laugh. That's just who I am. I guess I'm a little jokester. But that's it. I mean, if anybody has any.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because we're both from the south side, representing the south side. We're both Mikes. You know, we're both the same height. You know. But no, actually, to be honest with you, you know, when Mike was running, nobody gave him a chance. I didn't think he had a shot. You know, but he won, and ever since then we've been talking about really working together and doing a lot of stuff for our community. The city of Laredo has invested a lot in this park. We have literally spent over my 6 years over $120 million in this park. You know, you see all the new parks, the new roadways, the new construction that's going on, and we have some big plans for the future in this area. And typically, as far as the city is concerned, you know, we have term limits. Every single one of us has term limits. So we have 8 years to be able to have a goal, accomplish our goal, and then make them, you know, realizations. But the reality is, a lot of the things that we do today won't actually come to fruition until 10 years from now, 20 years. So we're trying to make that something that we can have for all of you. My goal, and I think it's the same thing with Mike, is that when you guys go away to college, hopefully you experience other cities and other colleges outside of the city of Laredo. We want to encourage you to come back to your community. And the number one thing that most kids that I know that go out of town and those that stay out of town, or the number one thing is there's nothing to do. I mean, that's the reality. And as we're making investments to be able to bring things to Laredo, that's what we're focused on, 100%. I mean, we have a new baseball stadium. We have some other things that are coming up that are going to be very, very neat, very unique to Laredo. We've spent literally over $500 million in new improvements. The city of Laredo's budget, if you just think in terms of budget, the amount of money that's invested in our community, the amount of money that we collect, whether from fees or taxes, about $500 million, $525 million every year that we have to be able to run the city of Laredo. If you just looked at, in terms of reference, the city of San Antonio has a $1.5 billion budget. So we're 1/3 the size of budget of the city of San Antonio. So we do a lot of things with the investments that we do. But real quick, let's get some interaction going on here. How many of y'all have already taken government so far? Or you know what? Let me start off with this. How many freshmen in the room? Raise your hand. Okay, sophomores? Juniors? Couple juniors, all right. Seniors, any seniors here? All right, looking forward to May? All right, good for you. All right, so the seniors should get all the answers right? U.S. representative. Who is our U.S. representative for the city of Laredo? Or for Webb County, actually? U.S. representative, anybody? 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 Going once? Going twice? Henry Cuella? Go ahead. No? Anybody? Who's heard of Henry Cuella? Raise your hand. All right, come on, guys. You gotta know who your representative is. All right. All right, real quick. Let me give you an easier one. How many council districts are there?
9.
Raise your hand.
9.
Yes, sir.
9.
No.
8.
Well. 8. There you go. Yeah, give a round of applause. There's 9 members of council, but there's 8 council districts. Remember, the mayor represents everybody, right? All right. Let me make another easier one. How many county commissioners are there? Raise your hand. Yes, sir. 3? No, not 3. 4. There you go. Right there, here we go. All right, let's get a little bit harder now. You guys need to know this stuff. This is important stuff, really. U.S. representatives. U.S. representatives. Who's our representative over here? What is it? There you go. How many are there in Congress? Our U.S. Congress, how many are there? Raise your hand. Take a wild guess. Anybody? 32. That may just be in the state of Texas.
Like,
Raise your hand. Yes, sir.
I think it's 536.
Almost. A little off. You're almost off 500. It's 435 representatives. All right. Now, let me see if anybody knows this answer. How are U.S. representatives? Every state has X amount of U.S. representatives. How is that determined? Raise your hand. Yes,
The
ma'am.
size of the state? Or
Technically, yes. What is it?
population?
Population. There you go. That's a good answer. All right. Just like the city of Laredo had to do rezoning of our county, like me, I lost the Santo Niño area because my population grew so much in the area that I represent. The federal government requires that you have equal representation. That's the law. So just like the city of Laredo had 250,000 individuals here. So we had to divide that number up equally amongst the 8 council districts, and we had to rezone. So the same thing with the federal government, the state, everything, the county commissioners, everything. The state of Texas in 2010, because we grew so much, actually gained 4 U.S. representatives. Now, you don't get new representatives. What happens is another state lost population, so those individuals or those precincts now come over to the state of Texas. So it always stays at 435. It never changes. But you end up getting more or less depending on your population. Okay? So does anybody have any idea how many the state of Texas has? Raise your hand. Yes. No. I just said that that's as many as Texas, but we actually have 36 representatives. Now, we used to have 32, so you were partially right. We gained 4 this USS. All right. Does anybody know what state has the most U.S. representatives? Yes, sir.
California.
California, that's a good answer. All right, here we go. And obviously, California has the most representatives because they have the largest population. All right, now let's go to the Senate side. The U.S. Senate. How many, this is an easy answer. Come on. How many U.S. senators do we have? Yes? 100. 100, there you go. Now, we'll share your tables.
No tables with
Yeah. All right. Now, how come we have 100? How come we have 100? You want to answer?
2 for each state.
2 per each state. 2 per each state. No more. That's a good. All right. Now, keep it going. We have 2 for each state. The reason we have that is because back when our forefathers were creating the Constitution, we talked about equal representation, right? So as your population grows larger, you get more representatives. But they also didn't want states that were so small to only have 1 U.S. representative. There are states that only have 1 U.S. representative. You think of Rhode Island, you think of Maine, or some of these other states that are out there that are very, very small. As a matter of fact, Webb County is larger in mass, in square footage, in the state of Delaware. So just to kind of give you the perspective, that's just our county. But they said that no matter what, we're going to have equal representation regardless of your population, and that's why they created 2 U.S. senators for each state. So no matter how small your state is, you're always going to have that type of representation. All right? So now, who are 2 senators in the state of Texas? Anybody know? Take a guess. Anybody? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Judith Safrini.
No.
No.
She's state. She's a state senator. U.S. senator. It's a good guess. Good guess. U.S. senator. Come on, seniors, juniors. Anybody? One was recently elected. Okay, the first Hispanic U.S. senator in the state of Texas. Hispanic. Hello. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz. He's a Cuban immigrant. Actually was elected just recently. He's part of the Tea Party. So he's a Republican Republican senator out of the Houston area, Oma. And then you have John Cornyn, who's out of Dallas, Fort Worth, who's also Republican representative for Texas. Okay? All right, let's go to the state level. Now we know who our state senator is for Laredo, it's Judy Sefrini. Does anybody know who our state representative is for Laredo? We actually have two, but the one that's in Central Laredo is who? Anybody? Raise your hand. Anybody? What's the answer?
Richard Raymond.
Richard Raymond. He's our state representative. He's been representing us here for almost a decade now. And then we have the other representative that just came in. We used to have Ryan Guillen, who's our state representative. Now, as the population shifted and we had the zone changes, he got pushed out of Webb County. We have a new guy, a new gentleman. He wears a cowboy hat. Anybody know who he is? Anybody? What's that? The new state rep is Tracy King. Tracy King is our new state rep. All right, so we got that out of the way. So hopefully y'all will remember that in the future, right? Because it's important. If somebody asks you who's your representative, you know who's the Mike, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
No, I'm just learning.
How many state senators do we have in the state of Texas? State senators. State senators. And again, those numbers never change. We have X amount, and again, based on population, it shifts within the state of Texas, but we always have the same number always. Anybody? State senators. It's not like U.S. senators. This is different. Okay? What is the answer? You're close. Anybody else? What's that? You're close. 31. We have 31 state senators. And then how about state representatives? Anybody know? Then we got Richard Raymond, we have Tracy King. So we have two in Webb County. Now they represent other counties as well, but if you can just imagine how many counties we have in the state of Texas, we have two here. So take all the ones all over the state, how many do you think we have? State reps. How much? 150? We have 150 state reps in Texas. Okay? All right, let's see, what else? This is an easy one. Who's our president? All right, who's our vice president?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Okay. Can the president serve for 12 years?
No.
How many years can he serve?
10.
8 years.
Can serve for 10. If
How's
he was
that?
vice president.
Well, president. The president of the United States can only serve 8 years. Now, the vice president can serve as 8 years, run for president, and serve another 8 years. So the vice president can serve within the hierarchy for 16 years. But as far as president of the United States, you can only serve for 8. Same thing with city council. The city council members, the mayor of Laredo can only serve 8 years. County commissioners do not have a term in them. They can serve for 20 years. We've had some that have served for 20 years. A few, yeah. We have some county judges that have served for a couple, a decade or decade and a half as well. All right, let's shift it to education now. Let's talk about education. Again, I talked about me going to college. I actually received my MBA here at MEU in 2001. And I will tell you how different it was, because when I went to get my undergraduate degree, it wasn't something that I had really thought about. And I did get a lot of help, financial aid and so forth, to go to school. So it was a little bit different. And again, I was 20 years old when I graduated, so the maturity wasn't there, as the commissioner talked about. Yeah, when I went for my master's about a decade later, I was almost 30 years old, and I had a baby, so the focus was there completely. And I don't know, for some reason, that program, the master's program, seemed to be a lot easier in my mind, because you're more focused, you're more mature, and you have all those things that you have to, work hard for. And so I did very, very well in my master's program. So I ended up getting a master's degree. Again, going back to the kid I was back in high school, and then fast forwarding so many years later, that was definitely not my makeup. It wasn't in my DNA. It wasn't something that I had thought I would do. But something that's very important. How many of you are planning to go to college? Raise your hand. And, you know, don't be ashamed if you're not. It's no big deal. How many are planning to look in the military? Good, good. Any technical schools? Anybody looking at technical schools? Good. It's all good, guys. It's all good. I mean, the military offers great options. As the commissioner was talking about, you know, it allows you to mature, allows you to grow, allows you to be responsible. Believe me, if you have the situation that we had over the last 10 years where our country was at war, it really wakes you up and it makes you appreciate what these guys do for all of us, you know. And just imagine the work that he did. We talked about it, we went on a trip recently, and every time that plane took off and every time that plane landed, you had somebody's life in your hands. I mean, think about it. It's like being a doctor or just being anything else where you have somebody's life in your hands. That thing rips, or that thing doesn't work right, or that thing, I mean, you're actually, you could be responsible for killing somebody. Can you imagine that responsibility? And can you imagine that when you're 19 or 20 years old, or when you're 21? I mean, that's, how many of you are 17? That's 2 years from now. Can you imagine being responsible for somebody's life 2 years from now? It's incredible. It's incredible. So, you know, my hat's off to all our men and women in the military. As a matter of fact, we ought to give him a round of applause for serving our country. But the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is let me ask this question by asking you guys a question. How many of you all want to be millionaires in your life? Raise your hand. Seriously? So there's some of you that don't. The difference between a high school diploma and a college diploma is $1 million. That's in your lifetime. In your lifetime, if you just get your high school diploma and do nothing else, and you go to college and you get your degree, the difference that you'll make in your lifetime is $1 million. So the minute that you get your college degree, you can consider yourself a lot, you know, within your lifetime, you'll make $1 million. Think about that. Now, how many of you like new cars? Raise your hand, brand new cars. I'm sure you want to live in your own home, right? How many want cable TV? You know, direct TV, Sunday ticket, you know? How many of y'all want to eat? How many, yeah. How many of y'all want to go to the movies? How many? There you go. Bottom line is all that costs money. All of that costs money. You know, when my family and I, we have my son who's 11, my daughter who's 8, my wife who's Garza, who's taking her so far. I said, I'm sorry. she's tough cooking. She's tough cooking. But let me tell you something. We go to the movies, and it's easily, and the adults in the room can know this, it's $100 to go to the movies. Easily. The tickets and the popcorn and the candies and the soda waters and stuff like that. Think about that. There's not even people that make $100 in a week. And now you're going to go to the movies. My point here, guys, is if you want to enjoy life, if you want to enjoy the things of life and stuff like that, you're probably going to need an education to get there. You're probably going to. It's not impossible. The commissioner is a great example of going to the military, having an attitude of being responsible, making sure that you go and do the things that you need to do and still be successful. But he's the exception. You know, there's a lot of situations where you graduate high school and there are circumstances where you can't get out of a minimum wage situation. And believe me, minimum wage doesn't earn you more than $21,000, $22,000 a year. And if you can just start adding it up, a car payment's about $400, a house payment's about $1,000. So all of a sudden, you're just working to pay off those things and forget about any other stuff. Forget about traveling, forget about any of it. So those are the things that you need to focus on when you want to go to school. And you want to, I mean, it's not all about material things, but I can tell you one thing that all of us like to be able to enjoy stuff and go out of town and do the things that we like. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, there was one thing that I forgot to tell you guys. I do have my degree. So while I was in the military, I was going to school. Actually, before I left the military, I went to TAMU, and I went to LCC. That's when I found out that I just wasn't doing it. Okay, and then as soon as I got in the military, when I started growing up, Councilman is right. At 19, I had about 32 people working under me. So I had to make sure that those 32 people were coming back safe. You're talking about at that time, it was the #1 most dangerous job in the world, working on top of a flight deck. The whole flight deck was mine. I ran the whole flight deck, everything on the top. Everything was mine. Not even the captain, not even the admiral. Nobody can tell me what to do up there. I ran them. And I had to make sure that my people came home safe. So while I was doing that, and we didn't work shifts. We worked 3 days with no sleep. Okay? So there was 3 days with no sleep, full of grease, all dirty, no showers. All we had to do, all we could do is brush our teeth and eat. That's all we could do. Until finally, when we're exhausted, then we'd go to sleep and get somebody, or once we did finish our stuff. So at that time, I had to make time to finish my school online. So I do have my degree. The reason why I have my degree is because my grandfather, my mom's dad, he proved to us, I believe he was 70, 76 years old. Okay, back then it used to be LJC, Laredo Junior College. What's LCC right now? It's BLJC. My grandfather went to school, okay, an old man falling apart, and he graduated. And he proved to us, he started by proving to my mom that education was very important. As a matter of fact, in the year that he graduated, they dedicated it to him. He passed away about 2 or 3 months after he got his degree. And on the yearbook, it's got him receiving his diploma. So that right there showed my mom that she needed to go and keep getting her education, and she did. So while my dad was working in South Bell, working overtime and doing what he had to, my mom was working in the first fire station, the first firehouse in Laredo as a secretary. And when she'd get out of work, she'd go to school. And you know what? And I'm very proud of my mom because she's gone a very, very long way. I'm very proud of her. She's a librarian, and she's done a lot of things for kids. A lot. And so when I saw that from my grandfather and from my mom, I followed it too. So no matter how busy I was, no matter how many kids I had, no matter what I was doing, I always found time. And I did get my degree. So I did go to the military, and I did get my degree. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. Just like my dad said, my dad's always told me, there's nothing, you can always do it. If somebody's already done it, if somebody's already achieved it, anybody can. So it's not impossible. So you guys can do it. If I did the military, if I did my college and I did it all, you guys can do it. Like I said, the same thing. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot do it, because you can. All those people that are telling you that you cannot do it, once you've proven that you can, then you go back and you smile at them. That's all you have to do. Okay? So education is very important.
And that's probably the most common denominator, guys, is those of you that want to succeed in life are the ones that won't let no be the final answer for it, to be quite frank. Because a lot of us, it's very easy, human nature, when somebody tells you no, well then you okay, you forget about it. But those of you that want to succeed in life, if somebody tells you no, and you still figure out a way to get it done, that's the part that makes you differential in terms of leadership, to be honest. I know in college, when I was going to school, it was pretty tough for me. Again, somewhat of a learning disability. I have a little bit of dyslexia as part of my issue. I cross numbers and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you learn to get over that. You learn to be able to adapt to that. And I actually had a couple of professors tell me, you know what, you're not going to finish this class, you're not going to be able to pass. I said, well, you know what, let me prove you wrong, and I ended up doing it. It might not have been great grades, but at the end of the day, I got my diploma. That's all that matters. And again, and I stand corrected. I didn't, my having a degree then is proof positive that there's a direct correlation between success and your education. And being in the military probably adds to that success. Because there are not many people that I know that were in the military that are not successful. You know what I'm saying? They have that discipline. They have that be able to have focus and be able to have goals and accomplish those goals. And then, when you're in the middle of what they were in the middle of, and all the situations with war and stuff like that, it actually even gets you at a higher level of focus and to be able to make sure that you protect the people. And again, that leads to success. So, real quick, before we end up here, I want to have Mike Barron talk a little bit about the planning department, but just to give you a few little stats about UISD. United South at one time, before LPJ was open, was the largest high school in Laredo. We had over 4,000 students. Of course, United High School right now, the main high school on the north side, has 4,000 right now. If you combine the Nike and Cactus, they have over 5,000 students at that high school, which is incredible because the state of Texas has 1,100 school districts. Okay, so there's 1,100 UISDs all over the state of Texas. But the majority of them are less than 1,000 students. I would say 60% of all the school districts are less than 1,000 students. Okay, what does that mean? That means our largest elementary school, which is Zeffrini, that has 1,100, 1,200 students, is larger than 60% of the school districts in the state of Texas. Think about that, put that in perspective, okay? United South High School is larger than 80% of the school districts in the state of Texas, okay? United ISD, the school district, is the 25th largest school district in the state of Texas. Number 25, okay? Think about that. You got Houston ISD, Dallas ISD, but we're number 25. We're the second largest in our region here, which is South Texas. Brownsville's the only one that's bigger than we are. Why is Brownsville bigger than we are? Because they only have one school district. Of course, here we have LID and United. If you were to combine both school districts, we'd be the largest. We'd be the largest in South Texas, actually. Obviously, San Antonio is bigger than we are, but we are bigger than Corpus. I'm talking about United. And we're only smaller than Brownsville, but we're catching up to Brownsville, if you believe it or not. Because, again, we're growing 800 to 1,000 students a year. Also, put this into perspective. The 46,000 plus students that we have, 46,000, that's bigger than some cities. Our students are larger in population than some cities that we have in the state of Texas. Think about that too. We're 150th largest school district in the country. Right now we sit at 150. So again, we're not as big as California, which is the Orange County School District, which has almost 300,000 students. HISD Houston has 200,000 students, but we still have 46,000. So we just imagine a mini city that we're having to make sure that we have enough textbooks, that we have enough food, that we have enough transportation. We travel, our buses travel 2,500 miles a day, square miles. Again, larger than the state of Delaware. That's how much we travel. So it's pretty interesting. Mike, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the planning department, just let the kids know.
All right. Again, my name is Mike Paron. I've been with the district 5 years already. It's a great opportunity, and it's a great field, guys. If you guys are considering different types of fields for your careers, the planning area is a really good area for you guys to look at. Now, planning really is looking at development and how cities are growing and where they're growing, and what the county and what the city do to be able to help direct how that should happen. Now, for us, for UISD, we were growing so much, guys, that the district really had to look at help for some help, not only with students, right, but with households and homes and where they were being built. Fortunately, what cities do is they ask developers, people who own land, a lot of acres sometimes, what their intent is to do with all that property that they own. So a lot of times what they submit to cities is called a master plan. And within this master plan, they kind of divide up their property and say, okay, we want to build so many homes. You know, along this roadway, we may want commercial property. Why? Because you know you have a lot of traffic going through it. So these are things that the school district started working with to be able to see where our new homes are going to be built, so we can prepare ourselves for schools. Now, Mr. Garza was talking about all this growth that is happening. Maybe about 8 years ago, we really had a big boom in Laredo. We were growing about 1,500 to 1,800 new students. So that's a lot of new students. If you think about it, guys, some of our elementary schools are 700 students. So you're thinking about maybe two new elementary schools a year we were growing that we were going to need. So those are things that we've been able to help keep a focus on. And sometimes what happens is, with all that growth, some of our schools really get overpopulated, and that's why you guys have portable buildings. So when you have those portable buildings, it's a reflection of how much growth is happening at that boundary area of their school. Now, what we here at USD try to do is we have a program which is GPS or GIS based. Okay, what that means is we can identify each one of you guys by your address to help us get an overall picture of where everyone is at, to potentially do what we call a boundary change. So sometimes if one school, two schools are next to each other, but it's exciting at the same time to see what it is that we have to do in order to help make space, guys, because it is tough. You guys know some of your feeder schools here, United South, how packed some of your classrooms are even here. You know, we are looking at a new science wing at United South for next year because this school is limited in labs because it's grown so much in the South. But that's a little bit something about what we do. If you have any questions, if you ever have anything you may want to ask about planning and what happens, feel free to call me, UISD Planning Department, and they'll get a hold of me, and I'll be more than willing to help you guys out if you're considering that field. And just a quick tip as far as education, guys. This is something that I learned. Always ask questions. Don't ever hold back. Teachers want to hear you guys go up to them and say, you know what, sir, I didn't understand this. You know what, ma'am, can you help me with this? In college as well. Because they see so many people sometimes that they may get lost in with so much stuff. But if you guys show that you really care about what you're doing, it always helps. So really care about what your work that you do. I think it's an important thing. And again, thank you for your time.
You want to tell them how many portables we have?
We have 147 portables is what we have right now. It's a lot of kids out in these areas, you know. And what happens is when your schools start growing that much and you have portables, then you're limited in your cafeteria space. Now kids have to be eating at, from what I hear, is 10 in the morning. Lunch, you know, lunch is getting served earlier. And your libraries are packed because they weren't designed. Schools weren't designed to hold that many students.
And that many portables is the equivalent of about 8.5 elementary schools outside. Anyway, we'll wrap it up. I just want to real quick, anybody have any questions? Just ask any questions. You get a pin for asking a question. So you can react to anybody. Yes, sir.
We're going to get a new campus.
Are you going to get a new campus here?
Like
The planning for United South High School is no new campus. What we are looking at, the possibility is we have land here nearby, actually down the street, is for a 9th grade campus. Because it's been pretty successful at United in terms of having a separate freshman campus from the high school. And you know, you're coming in from 8th grade, so it's kind of a shock when you go into high school. And you know how freshmen are treated sometimes, so having them separate a little bit actually helps in their development and helps in them to transition into high school. So the answer to your question is technically no new campus for United South High School in terms of splitting up the high school, but they'll be looking at a 9th grade campus. Now, in the future, we are looking at a high school in the Mines Road that would split up United, obviously. So because all that area goes to United High School. 99% of that area goes to United High School. So that is something that we're looking for in the future because that area has grown also significantly in terms of population as well. So just give them a 50. Anybody else? Anybody else? Guys, ask questions. We weren't that boring, were we? There's not even one question I want to ask. Yes, ma'am.
How many years of planning do you take to plan these things, like building new things?
Well, we actually have a 10-year plan. So we try to, now, is it accurate? Obviously not. I mean, we're putting a lot of variables. This is where mathematics comes into play. Everybody says, you know, how am I going to use algebra or all that stuff in the future? Well, this is where mathematics comes into play. Thank God we have computers, by the way, but we're able to do models, projection models, and we're able to say, okay, in the next 10 years, we'll have so many students, in what areas and what population. Now, here's the other thing that we do. Keep in mind, this is a lot of work. We look at birth rates. So we look at how many kids are born in the city of Laredo, and we factor that over 5 years and say, okay, how many kids are going to come to our elementary schools? And then we factor in how many people are going to graduate. I mean, we have formulas for all this stuff. We also look at households, how many permits are being issued, how many, we could tell you in the United South boundary, how many kids per house. So for every house that's built, we can almost project how many children are gonna come out of that household. It's just the formula. Now, guess what? We're less than 1% in error. In other words, we're within 1% of trial and error. We're pretty accurate when it comes to those numbers. So now some schools we may be a little bit off, but overall we're about 1% accuracy. Get her opinion?
Yes.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Government? County? Mr. Montemount? Yes, sir.
How long did it take projected for the bridge to finish on the loop?
That's a good question.
Very good question.
Very good question. Let me tell you something. Can I go over time? Okay. Let me just finish with this real quick. When I got elected into office, the number one priority that I had was the Cuatro Vientos Loop. That was my number one project. Now, everybody told me when I got elected is you're nuts. It's never going to happen. You're not going to get that done. Fast forward 6 years, it's already constructed. The bridge is the last part of it. There was a contractor, he went bankrupt. So it has nothing to do with the city, actually. It's more of a state project, it's tech stuff. But right now, that contractor has not only our project, but $400 million worth of other projects around the state that he has abandoned. So right now, we're in the legal part of that. Thank you very much. God bless y'all.